from a drug overdose. You're wrong. You're wrong.
Since the world lost a young talent, Juice WRLD, in 2019, the music industry has not been the same. Perhaps more than the grief that filled the industry were the countless questions that echoed. What truly happened? Why did Juice get cut down as his career was peaking? A newly released recording of his final moments reveals everything, and the truth will shock you to your core. Let's get into it. The final moments. When that news hit the block on December 8, 2019, that Jared Anthony Higgins, the young GOAT we all know as Juice WRLD, had passed at just 21. The whole culture froze. On God, we lost a real one way too soon. Since that tragic day, hella questions been circulating. Theories been floating around, and new intel keeps dropping about what actually popped off at Chicago's Midway Airport. So what really popped off on that December morning? Let's start with the confirmed facts. No cap. Juice WRLD's private jet touched down at Chicago's Midway International Airport around 2 a.m. on December 8, 2019. The flight from LA had been smooth, no drama, until they landed. What Juice and his squad didn't know was that the feds and Chicago PD were already posted up at the Atlantic Aviation hangar, ready to search the whip. They had intel suggesting the plane might be carrying some serious heat. As the boys in blue rolled up on the plane and started their search, the whole vibe switched up real quick. Among those on the scene was the Kid Leroy, Juice WRLD's young protege, who later spilled some real tea about what went down next. According to Leroy's account, he peeped the police through the plane window and already knew it was about to be a problem. As the cops asked for passports, Juice WRLD and his Day One G Money dapped each other up. What happened next flipped everybody's world upside down. No cap. Out of nowhere, Juice WRLD gasped and collapsed. Witnesses described him having a serious seizure, with blood coming from his nose and mouth. Straight chaos broke out as his crew watched in shock, unable to help as police put them in cuffs for officer safety, allegedly shouting, "Get the underscore away from him."
Because they were handcuffed, so there's not much they could do. But everyone else that was there was only one person who helped me.
The official Cook County Medical Examiner's report later determined that Juice WRLD died from an accidental overdose of oxycodone and codeine, with toxicology showing THC, morphine, and caffeine in his system too. But what led to this overdose has had the streets talking and debating for years. One of the main theories that was initially reported everywhere suggested that Juice WRLD might have popped multiple perks to hide them from the authorities, potentially triggering the fatal overdose. Pills were scattered around him when he collapsed, and 9 suspected Percocet pills were found in his fit. But hold up, this story has been challenged heavy. His shorty at the time, WRLD, has repeatedly denied that he swallowed pills to dodge the cops, and interestingly, nobody has stepped up to confirm seeing him pop anything during the search.
I think he died from a drug overdose. You're wrong. You're wrong.
The documentary director Tommy Oliver, who created Juice WRLD, Into the Abyss for HBO, also dismissed this theory, saying the overdose was due to his ongoing battle with addiction rather than some last-minute move to avoid catching a case. What we do know for sure is that the search of the plane turned up some serious contraband. 41 vacuum-sealed bags allowed totaling 70 pounds, 6 bottles of prescription codeine syrup, 29 millimeters pistols, 1.40 caliber pistol, a high-capacity clip, and armor-piercing bullets. 2 of Juice's security team, Harry Dean and Christopher Long, later caught misdemeanor charges for the illegal straps. The severity of what they found raises some real questions about the potential time Juice WRLD might have been looking at had he survived. Some online discussions have suggested he could have been facing a potential 64-year mandatory minimum bid in the feds, given the quantity of drugs and firearms, though this remains speculation. The medical response to Juice's collapse has also been put under the microscope. When he started seizing, a Department of Homeland Security agent hit him with 2 doses of Narcan, an opioid overdose antidote, and police turned him on his side to help him breathe. Paramedics rolled up to find him still moving but without a pulse. They rushed him to Holy Cross Hospital, then transferred him to Advocate Christ Medical Center, where they pronounced him dead at 3:14 a.m., about an hour after he first collapsed. WRLD has suggested that putting Juice's crew in handcuffs delayed medical attention, possibly making the situation worse. But it's impossible to know if a quicker response would have changed the outcome, given how serious his condition was. In the HBO documentary Juice WRLD, Into the Abyss, dropped in 2021, we get a real look at Juice's struggles with addiction. One particularly disturbing scene shows him swallowing 5 pills on camera, highlighting how deep he was in it. The film shows his awareness of mortality, featuring bars like, "What's the 27 club? We're not making it past 21 inch." Words that hit different now, knowing what happened. His day ones had reportedly tried intervene days before his death, pushing him to check into rehab. This suggests that his inner circle knew how bad his addiction was getting and were actively trying to help, making the tragedy even more heartbreaking for those close to him. But there's more to this story than just what went down that day. To really understand what happened, we got to look at Juice WRLD's mental state during those final months. The pressure blowing up so fast, and the mental health struggles that shaped both his music and possibly his fate. As someone who came up from SoundCloud to international fame in what felt like overnight, Juice was dealing with the level of pressure most of us can't even imagine. His rise was meteoric, going from recording in his bedroom to performing for thousands and signing major deals in a matter of months. That kind of come up comes with serious baggage. Think about it. At just 21, this young king had to weight an entire label on his shoulders, millions of fans checking for his every move, and the kind of money and access that can make addiction problems 10 times worse. Add to that the constant touring, recording, and public appearances, and you've got a recipe for someone pushing their limits just to keep up. His relationship with substances wasn't just recreational, it was self-medication. In multiple interviews, Juice talked about using drugs to cope with anxiety and depression issues he'd been battling since he was a teenager. The fame didn't create these problems, but it definitely amplified them to a dangerous level. Adding to all this are the claims ally WRLD has been making since his passing. Statements suggesting there's more to the story than what the official reports tell us. What really are the complex circumstances surrounding the loss of one of the most gifted young artists in the game? Beyond the headlines, some of the wildest developments have come straight from ally WRLD, Juice WRLD's shorty at the time of his death. Initially, she paid tribute to him at Rolling Loud in 2019, emphasizing how much he loved his fans.
He loved every single person that he helped on this earth. He literally loved every single one of you guys. There's not a time that he had showed me any different love that he felt for you.
But her story has switched up considerably over time. In 2022, WRLD dropped some bombshell claims on social media that had Juice's fan base shook for real. During an Instagram live session, she straight up said, "You guys think he died of a drug overdose. You're wrong."
I think he died from a drug overdose. You're wrong. You're wrong. Literally.
She went on to hint at some mysterious events from both the day before and the day of his death, suggesting there was mad tea that hadn't been spilled yet. What's really interesting about these claims is that WRLD said she was holding back details for her own safety, but promised to reveal more eventually. Dead, though. To this day, no concrete evidence has surfaced to contradict the medical examiner's findings that Juice died from an accidental overdose of oxycodone and codeine. This is people questioning what these alleged undisclosed factors might be and why WRLD would feel her life was in danger for knowing them. Is she capping for attention? Is there some conspiracy that's being covered up? Or is this just a grieving girlfriend who can't accept the reality of what happened? The street's been talking, but nobody really knows for sure. There's also conflicting reports about Juice WRLD's mental state in his final days. WRLD has denied he was depressed, but a security guard, Harry Dean, claimed he was in a depressed state and was heavy on the perks. His mom, Carmela Wallace, has talked about his long-term struggles with mental health and addiction, adding yet another perspective to the situation. Juice's own lyrics and interviews probably give us the realest window into his headspace. In one interview, he apologized to WRLD for his drug use, suggesting he knew his addiction was taking a toll not just on himself, but on everyone who cared about him. His music often painted a dark picture of his inner demons. The documentary Into the Abyss provides some valuable context here. The documentary shows that Juice wasn't hiding anything from the cameras, as Oliver further explains.
Really just, they were shooting and shooting and shooting, and he was liking his music so vulnerable and open and just who he was. And he didn't hide anything. And he made a point to not hide anything on camera or in his music.
This transparency extended to his drug usage, which was openly documented.
Discussion about holding anything back, and I'm talking about the drug usage and other things. I mean, yeah.
That was also why it's structured the way it is. And so it's meant to be in his own voice and through his own experience.
This raw documentation of his struggles shows a young king who wasn't just battling addiction, but was keeping a buck with the world about those battles. Maybe too real for his own good. It makes you wonder about the responsibility of his circle, the industry as a whole, and even us as fans consuming his art. Were the warning signs ignored? Did enough people try to get him the help he needed when it mattered? The documentary director gives us more insight into Juice's state of mind through his music and freestyles. Unlike a lot of artists who carefully craft their lyrics, Juice was known for his incredible freestyle abilities, spitting straight from the soul without filtering his thoughts. This raw, unedited approach gave us direct access to his mental state in a way few artists provide. His songs weren't just hits. They were cries for help, confessions of pain, and warnings about where he might be headed. Tracks like Lean With Me, with lyrics about potentially overdosing, weren't just artistic expressions, but real fears he was living with. When you listen to these tracks now, knowing how his story ended, it hits completely different. Beyond these questions, another major controversy has popped up in recent years that has Juice's fan base heated AF. In 2024, reports came out that ally Lottie had started selling Juice WRLD's personal items, including his clothes, preserved dreads, teeth, and even bodily fluids, on OnlyFans. Prices supposedly range from $100 for a dread to $10,000 for a vial of Juice's juice, allegedly to bail out her new boyfriend. This has drawn major backlash from fans and media outlets who called it straight up disrespectful to Juice's memory. On social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter, fans have been going off, with one user putting her on blast for selling his items in April 2025. Reddit threads from March 2024 show people shocked and debating the ethics, with some suggesting Lottie might be desperate for cash. The controversy goes deeper than just selling items. It's about respecting the dead. Many fans feel like this is exploiting Juice's memory for a quick bag, and it sparked bigger conversations about how we honor artists after they're gone. Should their personal belongings be sold to the highest bidder, or should they be preserved and respected? It's a question that gets to the heart of legacy management. It's important to put Juice WRLD's death in the bigger context of the music industry and the specific challenges facing young artists in the hip-hop community. His passing follows a disturbing pattern among young rappers, including Lil Peep, 2017, and XXXTentacion, 2018, who also died way too young from overdoses or violence. The game can be ruthless to these young artists, especially those who come from difficult backgrounds or struggle with mental health issues. The sudden fame, money, and pressure can amplify existing problems, and many labels aren't equipped or don't care enough to provide the support these artists need. Instead, there's often pressure to keep producing, touring, and generating revenue, even when artists are clearly struggling. The opioid epidemic in America has been claiming lives left and right, with artists like Prince and Mac Miller also lost overdoses. Juice WRLD's openness about his struggles hit different with fans precisely because these issues are so common, yet nobody really wants to address them head-on. In the documentary, the director reflects on how heavy it was reviewing hundreds of hours of footage of someone who had passed away.
It's me at my office going through hundreds of hours of his life, and knowing what happened, it was heartbreaking, and it was hard. It really was, because he was such a good.
This burden of representation extends beyond the documentary to Juice WRLD's entire legacy. The questions surrounding his death extend into questions about how we remember him and what happens with the massive catalog of unreleased music he left behind. Reportedly over 3,000 songs. These ain't just academic questions, but ones that directly impact how future generations will understand and connect with his art. This brings us to an exploration of how Juice WRLD's legacy is being handled, the controversies around posthumous drops, and what his story can teach us about fame, addiction, and how the industry treats vulnerable young artists. We'll also look at how his mom, Carmela Wallace, has worked to flip her son's tragedy into hope for others through the Live Free 999 Foundation. The legacy: when an artist passes young, especially one as prolific as Juice WRLD, the question of what to do with their unreleased work becomes mad complicated. According to multiple sources, Juice left behind over 3,000 unreleased tracks, an insane amount of material that represents both an opportunity and a responsibility for those managing his estate. Just think about that number for a second. 3,000 songs. That's more than most artists create in their entire lifetime. And Juice did it before he hit 22. The man was in the studio 24/7, constantly recording, constantly creating. His work ethic was legendary, and it left his team with a treasure trove of music that fans are desperate to hear. Since his death, his label and estate have dropped 3 posthumous albums: Legends Never Die in 2020, Fighting Demons in 2021, and most recently The Party Never Ends in November 2024. These releases have got mixed reactions from fans and critics alike, raising serious questions about artistic intent, authenticity, and the ethics of posthumous drops. The most recent album, The Party Never Ends, which dropped on November 29th, 2024, has been particularly controversial. Marketed as his 5th and final studio album, it features 18 tracks with features from artists like Nicki Minaj and Eminem. While some fans rocked with the new music, others came at it hard on social media. Fans claimed the album damages his legacy, with some saying it sounded like AI-generated music. The album cover also got dragged, with many putting the blame on label head Lil Bibby for mishandling Juice WRLD's work. One ex-user posted, "Juice WRLD's album sounds like AI," while another said, "I wish they would have kept that last Juice WRLD album in the archives." The backlash got so heated that Lil Bibby reportedly received threats, including one social media post stating, "I hope somebody comes and hurts you in your face." His personal info, including phone numbers and addresses, got leaked multiple times, and fans even sent pizzas to his crib and warehouse, a wild escalation that shows just how emotionally invested Juice's fan base remains in protecting what they see as his authentic legacy. This backlash raises important questions about the responsibility of estates and record labels when handling an artist's unreleased work. Fans on Reddit have debated whether albums like Legends Never Die were actually planned by Juice WRLD or just put together by the label, with some users noting he was working on an album called Outsiders before his death. This uncertainty has fueled accusations that the estate is chasing a bag rather than respecting his artistic vision. The conflict highlights the tension between commercial interests and artistic integrity. On one hand, there's a demand from fans to hear more music from an artist they love. On the other hand, there's a concern that posthumous releases might not represent what the artist would have wanted to put out. It's a delicate balance, and one that Juice's estate has struggled to maintain in the eyes of many fans. Lil Bibby, head of Grade A Productions, has acknowledged these challenges, saying he aims to make releases feel like a celebration of Juice WRLD's life. But the question remains, how do you balance honoring an artist's vision with the commercial realities of the music industry? This dilemma gets even more complicated when you factor in the legal battles that have emerged around Juice's music. Legal issues. The estate has faced several lawsuits, primarily over royalties and copyrights. Producer Joshua Jarillo sued the estate in 2024, claiming unpaid royalties for his work on Girl of My Dreams from Fighting Demons. Producer PD Beats Pierre Orpheus D. Jouet filed a lawsuit in 2023 over unpaid royalties for Not Enough, also from Fighting Demons. Songwriter Danny Choi, aka Ghost Low, sued the estate in 2021, alleging that Scared of Love from Goodbye and Good Riddance sampled his track So High without permission. These legal battles show just how complex managing a deceased artist's catalog can be, especially one as extensive as Juice WRLD's. In 2022, reports indicated the estate struggled to appoint a legal representative, delaying resolution of these and other lawsuits, a reminder of the practical challenges that come with preserving an artist's legacy. The situation gets even more complicated when you consider the leaks. Juice's unreleased music has been steadily leaking online since his death, with fans creating their own compilations and sharing them through unofficial channels. This has put additional pressure on the estate to release music before it leaks, potentially rushing the process of curating and producing posthumous albums. Some fans argue that these leaks are more authentic than the official releases, as they represent Juice's raw, unfiltered work without label interference. Others maintain that supporting official releases is the only way to properly honor his legacy and ensure his family and collaborators are compensated. It's a debate that continues to divide the fan base. Despite all these controversies, there are also some powerful examples of how Juice WRLD's legacy is being channeled for positive change. His mom, Carmela Wallace, founded the Live Free 999 Fund to support young people struggling with addiction, anxiety, and depression, issues that were central to Juice's music and his personal battles. The fund remains active, with proceeds from events like WRLD Day supporting mental health programs. The most recent WRLD Day, held on December 2nd, 2024, at Chicago's United Center, featured performances by artists like Lil Yachty and Dave Blunt, alongside an exclusive album experience for The Party Never Ends. At this event, Carmela Wallace delivered what was described as a heartfelt speech on mental health, faith, and her son's legacy, resonating with fans and showing the community's commitment to keep his memory alive in a way that helps others facing similar struggles. By transforming personal tragedy into community support, Wallace has created perhaps the most meaningful aspect of Juice's legacy. In a world where fame often fades and music eventually becomes dated, this kind of tangible impact on people's lives represents something truly lasting. The Live Free 999 Fund has partnered with various mental health organizations to provide resources for young people, particularly in underserved communities. They've funded counseling services, launched awareness campaigns, and created safe spaces for discussions about mental health and addiction. This work directly addresses the issues that Juice himself struggled with, offering others a help that might have saved him had he received it in time. What makes Juice WRLD's story hit so different is that his music often addressed the very demons he was battling. In the documentary Into the Abyss, we get glimpses of not just his struggles, but his remarkable talent and genuine desire to help others through his platform. The director observed
That's how sweet and caring he was, because he would make a point when he had an audience of thousands or tens of thousands to make sure that he told them to follow their dreams. He told them to do what was important.
This duality of a young man fighting addiction while also trying to inspire others is what makes his story so powerful and his loss so devastating. The documentary director continues.
To deal with all of those things, or to try to deal with all those things, and to try to navigate it and still be a kind person who's caring about other people. I didn't know that, and those two things really stood out.
Beyond his musical talent, what set Juice apart was his authenticity and emotional intelligence. In an industry often dominated by bravado and image, he wasn't afraid to show vulnerability and discuss his own mental health struggles openly. This resonated with millions of young people who saw their own battles reflected in his music. His freestyling ability was unmatched, able to spit for hours without repeating himself, a talent that even established veterans in the game had to respect. But it wasn't just technical skill, it was his ability to translate raw emotion into words on the spot, creating profound and relatable content that connected with listeners on a deep level. Juice WRLD's story isn't just about one artist, but reflects bigger issues within the music industry and society as a whole. His death is part of a disturbing pattern among young artists, particularly in hip-hop, who have succumbed to addiction, mental health struggles, or violence at early ages. There's also the question of whether the industry does enough to protect vulnerable young talent. Juice WRLD blew up rapidly, with industry insiders noting they had never seen someone pop as quickly as he did. This rapid rise brought immense pressure, expectation, and access to substances that may have made his existing struggles even worse. The harsh reality is that the music industry often values output over well-being. Artists are pushed to constantly create, perform, and maintain a public image, with little regard for the toll this takes on their mental and physical health. For young artists who may not have experience or support systems to navigate these pressures, the consequences can be deadly. It's worth addressing that after his death, numerous conspiracy theories popped up, with some fans speculating that he might have faked his death or been the victim of foul play. These theories gain traction on platforms like TikTok and Reddit, but lack any real evidence. Some fans, where they've seen him in public, since his death. Others claim his lyrics predicted his own passing, and some even suggest the industry had him silenced for knowing too much. These theories might sound wild, but they're actually common after losing influential young artists. They reflect the difficulty some fans have in accepting such a devastating loss, especially one that seemed preventable, rather than face the painful reality that addiction claimed another talented young life. It can be easier to imagine alternative scenarios where their favorite artist is still alive or is the victim of some larger conspiracy. Equally speculative are theories suggesting Juice intentionally overdosed to avoid legal consequences. While the circumstances of federal search, finding significant contraband, might make this theory emotionally compelling to some, there's no concrete evidence to support it. The official ruling remains an accidental overdose, a tragedy resulting from addiction rather than calculation. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to talk about the things you're going through. That's one of the most important lessons we can take from Juice WRLD's life and music. That sharing your pain isn't weakness, it's strength. Stay safe out there and keep his legacy alive by taking care of yourselves and each other. If you like this video, click on the videos on your screen for more.